Giving it a few more minutes. Okay, I think we're good to go and we are ready to start. So for those that you have joined, thank you so much. Before we kick off with this webinar, I'm just going to hand over to Anamine, who's going to tell us just a little bit of what P&H Solutions is about and what we do.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Bronwyn. Good afternoon, everyone, and another warm welcome to today's session. For those who might not know us yet, for people joining for the first time, P&H Solutions is a Platinum Sage partner with over 260 years of combined experience in payroll and HR. We pride ourselves on delivering scalable, innovative solutions, and most importantly, we're walking the journey with our clients to ensure success. So we just not just another partner, we walk that journey with you guys. Today is really a special milestone for all of us, as this is our very first webinar focusing specifically on payroll. I think most of you might have joined previous sessions where we did the HR webinars. Today is our very first one in a series of payroll ones. Our goal is to make these sessions both practical and valuable for all of us, for all of you, helping to simplify complex processes and share insights that support your business. We also want these webinars to be shaped around your needs. If there are a particular payroll or HR topic you would like us to cover during this year and next year, we would love to hear your suggestions. So please pop it in the chat box or even mail us. You'll see right through the presentation the email addresses coming up. So thank you once again for joining us. Sit back and let's start this session, Bronwyn, on a very, very daunting topic on the e-filing. So thank you, Bronwyn, over to you.
Thanks so much for that. So firstly, I just want to extend a very, very warm welcome to all of you that has taken your time out of your day to chat with us. My name is Bronwyn, and on call today, I will be supported by Daniel. Together, we facilitate the support desk here at P&H Solutions. So today, we're going to have a brief overview of your biannual submissions on Sage 300 into syfile. Should you have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to drop them into the chat, and then we will discuss them in a bit later. The session will be recorded, and a link will be available for you guys to download. To kick things off, we're just going to see what is the interim reconciliation SARS submission all about. So this submission is for 6 months from the 1st of March till the end of August. So it's basically for us to align our EMP 201 submitted each month, and which includes our PAY and our UIF BTI to make our necessary adjustments and corrections on the system. That during the submission, there would be no tax certificates that would be printed out for the employees, but merely for us to just track and in submissions. So the agenda for today and during this webinar, we're going to go through the following points. I'll provide you with some important information to look out for. We'll be in payroll readiness, which will talk about our directives, our terminations, and our RP5 codes, some of the validation errors that we have picked up. We will then go through to exporting your test run into that file. We will then make use of our live run CSV file into syfile. We'll go through some of the reconciliation reports, and then we'll have some questions thereafter. So some of the important information. So again, this interim reconciliations is information declared to SARS from the 1st of March to the 31st of August. Using the syfile software, this should always be done on the latest release, which will be versions 8.0.1 at this time. And when logging into syfile, it will actually prompt you to update. So this has to be done before your submission takes place, which is version 25.3.3.0, which is where it will be available for download on the 17th of September. It is suggested that you create a folder where you'll be able to save all of your backups as well as all of your working documents for reference purposes. The reason why this is very important is that if we have these files in a future period, or there's a change of administrators within your organizations, we are able to treat you. For the clients that are on MCS, the MCS environment currently does backups of the system every day, viewed, but you can also take backups for yourself. And if you need assistance with this, please do reach out to us. But bear in mind that these backups do override every 7 days. MCS will also be updated to the latest during the weekend of the 19th of September. Okay, so we're going to move on to our payroll readiness. In this section, we'll talk about our directives, terminations, and our IRP5 codes. The directives on Sage 300. It is essential to load all of your SARS issued directive numbers on the payroll system. Directive numbers ensure that the employee's PAYE is calculated in line with the SARS instructions and reflected correctly on your tax certificates. This not only keeps us compliant with legislative requirements, but also prevents incorrect deductions, penalties, and employee tax issues. To complete this on your payroll, you're going to go to your employee management on your navigation tab, click on employees, double click on employee detail, click on your tax definition tab, and at the bottom of the screen, you'll see I've highlighted in red, the little block is where the information, as you would see it on your directive, will be the information that you will capture onto the system. So this will be your directive number, your directive issue dates, your deduction definition, your earning definition, as well as your directive income amount. We're going to move on to our terminations on Sage 300 and why this is so important. So accurate employee records. Only current employees should be reflected as active on the system and on the certificates. If a terminated employee is still active, SARS will assume that they are still employed within your organization. So we want to ensure that when their contract or when they have resigned or for whatever reason, their termination date is stored onto the system. For your tax year end reporting, your tax certificates show your start and termination dates if applicable. This plays an important part in your PAYE, your STL, and UIF calculations on the system. In order for the system to do the final recalculation correctly, this information must remain true and accurate. You want to avoid any SARS rejections. Incorrect termination status may cause submission rejections as well as red flags with SARS. Payroll data must reconcile with your SARS records, and you want to also be UIF compliant. So your UIF requires correct employee status. Mismatches occur if the terminations are not captured correctly. Another point to note on this is, should you have seasonal workers that are active on your system for a period in which they have worked? So your seasonal workers should only be active for the time period that they have worked. Meaning, if they have worked for 3 months and then they come back with a broken service, the employee should only be deemed as terminated on the system and then reinstated on the system when they have returned to work. So in short, in summary, your termination details are required on e-filing so that SARS can correctly close off an employee's record for the tax year and prevent any compliance issues. We move on to your IRP5 codes on the Sage 300. So validating your IRP5 codes in Sage before submission ensures that the SARS accepts your easy file import. Your employee's tax is handled correctly and your company remains compliant. So you can do so by running through your payroll definitions to ensure that your lines are treated correctly. You do want to complete this step because this will ensure that you have your correct tax treatment as well as accurate employee tax certificates. For instance, using a non-taxable line where it should be taxed will result in the employee having to pay tax over at a personal assessment stage. So Daniel will be dropping the tax pocket guide into the chat for reference on any source codes that you have queries on, but you can also do contact us if you need assistance with this further. For an example of the code confusions that can be found is the travel reimbursement and how this is treated. So these IRP5 codes requires that the portion of kilometers reimbursed at a rate greater than the prescribed rate per kilometer be included in the remuneration and therefore is subjected to PAYE. On the screen, you will find the breakdown of the reimbursable travel allowances. For example, of using these codes incorrectly could result in major tax discrepancies. If you use code 3701, you need to bear in mind that this only taxes between 80% and 20% of the allowances during the year, which can result in additional tax due when the employee submits their returns. So we want to ensure that the payroll definitions used are in line to avoid any penalties when submitting our returns. We then move on to the validation errors. So we'll talk about our directive numbers, some of the general validations, employee tax numbers, as well as some of the ETI indicators. So our directive numbers. Directive source codes play a critical role in ensuring payroll compliance and accurate SARS reporting. So highlighted red on the screen are some of the examples of the error messages we can receive. These codes identify the specific types of income. So it could be your severance, your lump sums, or your commissions, but we want to ensure that the correct tax treatment is applied and in line with our SARS issued directives. Using the correct source codes is essential for your accurate PAYE calculations, proper reflections on the employee's IRP5, IT3A certificates, and compliance with SARS regulations and audit requirements, preventing incorrect deductions or reporting errors that may affect your employee's tax affairs. So on the screen, you would see that the codes are available on the payroll system and can be found on the directive that you've applied for through your e-filing. Should you get an error that says your income source code not allowed for directive number, indicates that your IRP5 code stored on your system is not in line with what's on your directive. You then want to go back into the employee's directive that you've captured, and we want to ensure that we are stipulating the correct information. So as we see it on our directive is the information that we're going to put into the system. I've just done a summary of this with your directive scenarios, like your severance, your gratuity, and the IRP5 codes, your income codes associated with those scenarios, and again, your PAYE codes that you will align with those source codes. So it's important to note your rule of thumb, your 3901 or your 39, whichever directive source code, your lump sums, your PAYE will always be captured on source code 4115. Your normal remuneration, on the other hand, like your salaries, commissions, will be captured on code 4102. If your source code selected does not have a value on the employee's payslip for the reconciliation period, you will receive the following: a validation error. That means your IRP5 code linked to your directive number, whatever directive number you have applied for, differs from the IRP5 code on your payslip. So although you have captured the directive information, the payslip has not been updated with the amounts that were allocated on your directive. You want to go back into your directive that you captured, ensure that you are in line. If the directive amount is not complete, then you're going to receive the following error: your income amount required for directive number, whatever we've captured. So again, we've captured the details of the directive, but the amounts column should also be checked, also be completed, and be in line with your directive that you've applied for. So some of the general validations that we have experienced for your residential, postal, and work addresses, there should be no special characters that are allowed on the export. For instance, if you have like the and sign on your address, the system will flag this and you will get an error. So you want to ensure that you go into your employee's address, you want to look at it, ensure that there are no and signs, no dashes, no special characters at all. If there are any spaces between your initials or your contact numbers, again, you're going to receive an error. So again, you're going to go back into your employee's basic information screen, look through your initials, take out your little spaces. Again, also with your contact numbers, I think we have this habit where we do like 011 space 592 space. So we can't have those spaces on our export. So we want to clear those out, and then we can clear out these validations. Your IRP file.
Bronwyn, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can you perhaps switch off your camera? There's a lot of people that's saying there's a lag. So if you can maybe just switch off your camera.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Hi, is that better? Yeah, camera's on.
Thank
So
you.
again, your IRP5 contact person details, your tax registration number, which is your PAYE reference number, your physical address of the company, and the contact number. These lines are all mandatory on your system. They will not allow you to export your CSV file if these items are not completed. So you want to go into your company management screen. You're going to make sure that this information is captured correctly. Any negative values or negative RFI. So your negative values, such as your codes like for 3601 or 3605, adjustments can be made on the payslip screen. So we complete the adjustments after the employees have been paid or just before starting the new period to prevent any adjustments from displaying on the employee's payslip. So please reach out to us if you require any assistance with this. Okay, so we're moving on to employees' tax numbers. Okay, so previously on the system, it would just give us a warning when we're running our validation. It will allow us to move forward with our export files. However, now you would have to complete this information for all employees. If an employee does not have a tax number, you can apply for a tax number on behalf of the employee on the SARS website. You can complete a bulk registration, but it's limited to 100 employees at a time, whereby you upload the information via an Excel spreadsheet, and then you would receive a file back with the tax numbers, in which you can then use to import into the system. So Daniel will drop a link to the SARS website with the details on requesting your tax numbers for employees, and you could work through that to get your employees' tax numbers into the system. So failure to have these tax numbers ready can result in the following: submission delays and rejections. SARS may reject or flag submissions where employees' tax numbers are missing or invalid, which can delay your reconciliation process. There will be penalties and interest, so employers can be held liable for administrative penalties, interest, and other deductions of PAYE, where the tax numbers are outstanding. The impact that it would have on the employee is that without a valid tax number, employees cannot be issued a proper IRP5 certificate. It will affect their ability to file returns or claim refunds. You want to state if for your audit and compliance risk, any missing tax numbers may raise compliance concerns with SARS and potentially trigger audits. So there is a lovely report that I would suggest for administrators to run monthly as part of the month-end procedure, and this is found under all reports. The report is called your validation report. This report provides any errors that are on the payroll in line with your IRP5 exports. By doing so, you are able to eliminate the number of errors you may receive at submission time and keep the system up to date with the requirements. So when you do come to your biannual or even your tax year end, you're actually not wasting too many times to correct these errors. You're actually just moving forward to get your exports and go into your easy file procedures. Your ETI indicators. It is important to note that employees can only utilize ETI for the first 6 months of the tax year. This means that if you have carryover amounts of ETI in March to July, the balance can only be used in August of that tax year. Thereafter, you're going to be starting fresh in September. If you have not claimed your full ETI, it may just be beneficial to resubmit your EMP 201s and ensure that you have used your full benefit for your ETI. We want to ensure that the sick codes are completed for the company as well as the individual employees. This can be seen on your monthly tax total reports that you would extract every month to complete your EMP 201s. And if you do come across this error, there is a batch called the ETI take-on batch that we use to correct the preceding months with no sick codes linked. So now we move into the section of the test run. We're going to go through your test CSV file from Sage 300 and then importing the file into EasyFile. You would want to run your test file first to ensure that your live run will be successful. Although the system does allow you multiple live runs, but it's that you run your test file first to ensure you're able to import into EasyFile with no errors. To do this, your step one would be to go over into your payroll. On your navigation pane, you're going to click on exports. You're going to double click on your tax certificate exports, and you're going to select your company Your export type will be interim reconciliation. Your tax year. Now, this is where it's kind of important for me, is that we want to ensure that the year that you select is actually the year for your assessment. Because sometimes we find that we select the wrong year, and when we extract our CSV file, we're wondering why our figures do not balance. We just need to ensure that the tax year that we are submitting for is the tax year that we select. Again, in the bottom screen, the bottom block, you're going to select the company rules that are applicable for the export in this tax year. Our run type at the bottom of the screen will be test. And then your export part will be referencing the folder that we have created at the beginning, where we are storing all of our documents. Our step 2 is that we're going to click on Export CSV File, which is found in the top left corner of your ribbon. So on your screen, you see that little button. You're going to click on that. And if there are any validation errors, a validation error box will appear, providing you with the employee codes that the error is on and the relevant field that requires updating. To print this information, we're going to click anywhere in the table and click on Print and Export. You would then go back into the system, go back into the employees. We're going to correct these errors, and we will rerun the test run until we are able to export the file successfully. A message will then display indicating that the process has been completed, and the export will be saved in the location that we have set in the previous step. So then move on to the EasyFile portion. So again, EasyFile should always be updated to the latest version. It is important to note that the old version that we all grew to love is no longer used. It will only be view only for historical data purposes. We now have this beautiful white and blue application, which we will be using now. So Daniel has dropped a lovely PDF in the chat that will take you through the complete registration and navigation queries that you may have with the new EasyFile software. I will take you through the steps for the submissions. So we have downloaded the new software, we've registered, and once we have accessed the new EasyFile on our navigation pane, we can click on Dashboard and import payroll file. We will then search for that file that we've saved in our folder that has all of our working documents in there. We're going to take our test CSV file and import it into EasyFile. EasyFile will then validate the file, and hopefully, fingers crossed, yes, we are going to, we will receive a message that says the file has passed validation, but this, remember, it's going to be marked as a test data. Because we are doing a test run CSV file into the system, our information will be a test data. If the test run was successfully imported, we can now proceed to export our live run from Sage 300 and import that file into EasyFile. Should you have any errors in the EasyFile, we then click on our Utilities tab, Import Payroll File Log, and this will display any of the data on the payroll that needs updating. We then go back into payroll, we're going to fix that data, rerun the CSV file extract until we have passed into EasyFile. We now move over to our live run, where we will talk about extracting our live CSV file, some of the reconciliation reports, and then importing that file into EasyFile. So we have run our test run. We are happy with that. We are moving over to the live run. So we're going to use basically the same steps of exporting the test run. However, now, instead of the test run that we've selected as our run type at the bottom, we're now going to select live run. And then you will see I've highlighted in a red block the reports that you want to tick for printing. And you want to export these reports in the same working folder we've created for submissions. For ease of reference, if SARS needs any information from us, we go back into that folder. We have these reports that we will be printing. So this on the screen you'll see is an example of your EMP 501 report that will print when you are running your reports. You would then want to compare each month's totals of your EMP 501 report to your PAYE, STL, ETI, and UIF paid as shown on your statement of accounts from SARS or the monthly EMP 201s that you have used to complete your monthly payments to SARS. This report can be exported to Excel by right-clicking anywhere on the screen, and the payments can be captured for ease of reference under your PAYE, STL, ETI, and UIF paid columns. This way, we can easily establish the differences for the specific months and for the specific values. Now that we know which months have the difference, we can further investigate by seeing which employees the differences are applicable to. So this is an important step when you find that your reports do not balance. Any differences would have to be addressed and investigated, providing reasons as to why we have the differences. The report is used to confirm the financial values saved in Sage 300 people and the financial values we've declared to SARS on a monthly EMP 201s. We want to ensure that they are same and they should balance. If the differences were due to incorrect changes made or changes that were supposed to have happened in the payroll, then you would have to reinstate that month's EMP 201 and do the correct payment to SARS. Some of the reasons would be as follows. Your employee terminated after the reports were printed. So if you terminate somebody after the reports were generated, the data will no longer match the system and the system will do a recalculation. Your taxability of your earnings or your deduction lines that were changed, adjusting how an item is taxed affects the totals and creates your mismatches. Any employee details that were updated, like your start date or your tax status, the smallest change on these lines will affect your statutory calculations. If your reports were pulled before these changes, we are not going to match onto your system. New employees that were added after the reports were printed, any late additions won't be included in your original reporting. Tax provision on annual bonus adjusted after your reports, changing tax treatments on your bonuses, they will definitely alter your PAYE figures. We can then rebuild our tax monthly totals for that month, and we should reinstate our EMP 201s if there was any differences so that we can have our payroll aligned to what we are reporting to SARS. There may be some scenarios whereby you can override your year-to-date values for PAYE, UIF, and SDL per employee that will export onto your IRP files. So this value will not influence the employee's actual values, but the correction must be still applied on the employee's payslip. On the screen, you would complete the action per employee, although it is not going to adjust your current payroll. This will only adjust the CSV file that you would export from the payroll. And this step is only applicable for your biannual. When you're completing your tax year-end submissions, on the other hand, you're going to make use of the tax adjustment payslips for those backdated adjustments. To do this step, on the navigation pane, you're going to click on Employee Management, double-click on the employees, select the specific employee, and click on the employee detail. On the tax definition screen, you're then going to see I've highlighted in the little red block, where it has a little spanner there. You're going to click on that. You're going to select your items that you're going to adjust, like your PAYE, UIF, and SDL. You'll then input that amounts needed for these adjustments. Okay, so now we're back onto the easy file. So we're going to go to easy file and import the file as we have done with our test run. We're going to do the same. You're going to click on dashboard, import the payroll file, and again, we'll be able to pick this up, the file from the folder we've created and where we stored all of our data. And once we have imported, EasyFile will then validate the file and advise that these files has passed. We know this. We're confident about this step because we've already imported our test files and they were successful. So now you may go to the declaration and the submissions into EasyFile. You would then click on the Reconciliations tab that's on your navigation pane. You're then going to click on the Accept Data button. We will then complete the necessary information required, which is known, like to us, would be known as your financial particulars. And this page will state that if we owe SARS money, if SARS owes us money, or in a perfect scenario, we have zero due by. We're going to aim for the perfect scenario, though. You will then notice that the work page block below will then refresh all of the data that we have saved in the previous step. So then now we're going to click on our Submit to SARS to complete this process. So although it seems like we've stopped our work here, there is just a few more steps to continue before we can successfully say that SARS has received our submissions. So the next part is actually very critical. The status dashboard will indicate that the data has been accepted by SARS, and we are now ready to generate our RP5 PDFs. So the status, we want to ensure it is saying accepted. If it has been rejected, when click on update, it would give us information as to why our file has been rejected. We then go back, we can correct this information, and we're going to do the live run import again. So once we have clicked on our generate IRP5s, this will only show the information that has been submitted. And again, this will only be for your company. There will be no employees certificates that will be printed. The PDF viewed is basically a summary of your first 6 months of your EMP 201 submitted, but it just allows us to ensure that the payroll is aligned with our SARS profile. So now we have completed our submission, and we can rest assured that we are in line with SARS. Our payroll is good to go for the last 6 months of the year, and we get in preparation for the upcoming 6 months of the year, where we will do our tax year end. Okay, so we have run through the basics of the interim submissions, but should you require any assistance with the submissions, we do encourage you to contact your consultant, or you can log a ticket on our support desk. The details are on the screen and as well as in the chat, and we'll be happy to assist in any way that we can. As mentioned, this webinar will be available for download, and if you would like for us to send you a biannual checklist with step-by-step to complete the submission, as well as any guides, please do email us. We will now leave the line open for any questions that you guys may have. Are there any questions in the chats that I can look out for?
Hi, Bron. No, nothing yet.
I will just leave it on for a few more minutes. If anybody has any questions, please do drop us a chat.
Maybe just put your camera back on to show them.
Good. Okay, guys, so if there aren't any questions, again, our address, our contact details are on screen and in the chat. Please do mail us. We do have a lovely step-by-step guide that we are more than happy to share with you guys, as well as any other guides or any questions that you have with regards to submissions. I do want to thank each and every one of you for your time today, and I really do hope that you feel a little bit more confident with your submissions. We look forward to hearing from you guys soon, and I hope you have a wonderful day further and a great weekend ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.